Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of How to Draw a City. And you will remember where we left this. We have explored drawing warehouses, shops, marketplace, temples. Now we did earlier on take a look at drawing buildings, and that's where we're going to be today, because in our last video we left this with this little colored area right here as a demonstration for how you could get a mercantile like environment, a shop, into your buildings just by focusing on certain shapes and features. So let's finish this area right here. We're going to pick a brush. We're probably going to drop this to about 10 pixels in this instance, maybe a little bit less. There we go. Now, one thing that we've done in the past is these areas here are our guides, but they're rough guides. You can see how we've kind of just marked one edge of the road here, because you leave a gap, draw the buildings on the other side, and they form the road through negative space. And that's the way I like to do it. So let's explore this a little bit more. There are multiple ways that you can go about shapes. And right now, I'm going to explain a couple of things that I'm doing, and we're going to fill this area, okay? First and foremost, there's a standard box shape. We have a box shape with a little notch cut out, makes it a little bit more visually interesting. We have the short box shape with a notch, which maybe has some kind of yard in the back there. We have an L shape. And of course you can reverse these. Now I wouldn't normally do it quite this way because it's going to look a little funny. But we have the reverse L shape. We have the setback from the road a little bit. Maybe I'll put out front a little fence, or perhaps it's a iron fence or something like that. And we can play around with this type of thing, because if you imagine what we're doing in some instances, and let's actually do one, is we're not drawing an individual building, but we are actually drawing perhaps several buildings together. This would be easy to imagine, something like even this type of thing going on, right? Maybe even something like that. But when they're all joined together, they start forming these sort of meshed roofs. Let's do the same here. Now, what am I doing with these little notches? Well, quite simply, not only does that almost insinuate that it's maybe a little doorway in, but we could take it one stage further. Maybe I come in a side here. And what I did there, by the way, is I came in and I just did this. That is looking like an alleyway to me, right? Oops. That was me dropping my pen. So let's take that one stage further again. Let's do it at the back, and let's do a little T shape at the back. I actually like doing T shapes at the front, by the way, but again, can I start to see two buildings in here? Maybe a little alleyway at the back. Imagine little back doors coming into the alleyway. And then we've got the actual T-shaped building itself. And all I'm doing is I am literally alternating my shapes. So I don't have the same shape over and over and over. And these little notches, these little alleyways go a huge way to actually ensuring that you don't get this, okay? This is okay in parts, but you better have a good reason for it. Because what I start to see here is more like barracks or something, right? Or even mausoleums or tombs or something. So there's a time and a place for that type of thing. But here we're doing irregular buildings. Now, if I'm going to come up the side here on the road, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I kind of have this little sort of insinuation of maybe a back alley or a tertiary road or something forming right here. You can start to see where they form. You can almost imagine this type of shape coming along. So how about we grasp onto that? By the way, I'm going to actually take that back. Once you start to see the shape, one thing I'd like to do is start with a simple building to guide you. That's why I did that shape there. And I'm going to do the same on the other side, because this is where my road was going to be, right? I'm keeping it simple. I'm directing myself where I'm going. I'm building out the edge of this road. Now I'm going to stop there. This shape and this shape are very, very similar. They just differ in size, right? I've got a rectangle and a square, so I'm going to just break that up a little bit by giving one of them a little bit of roof detail. Let's continue that. There's my L shape that we did a little earlier on. Now remember, this is my road here. So I'm just going to finish off that side, maybe do another reverse L shape right there. And this time I'm actually going to butt up against that. Maybe even mix it up a little bit, like so. And again, let's butt off that a little bit. Now what I've done here is this is a nice little indent right here. And so what I'm going to be sure to do, if I do an indent on the other side, it's going to start looking like a courtyard. Nothing wrong with that at all. If I do a solid building, maybe something in the likes of this, then this will start to put some visual emphasis on this side over there. And then that's going to look really good just for bringing us into this area as a visual, interesting little spot. So I'm probably going to do something like that. I'm going to fill the interior of this. Now notice I have a courtyard right here. I don't really want to create too much of another one here, so I'm going to make it a half courtyard. And I'm going to do that by doing our usual shapes. I'm going to come along like this, and I'm just going to fill in like so. Another visual thing that we can do is, what if we had little walkways between buildings? We see that between warehouses, old warehouses in London, for example. Or British size, anything like that. Again, it's really just something to break up the same shapes being used over and over and over. Let's come back over here. I'm seeing right here. This is where my eye is going. You see this alleyway coming through? I think maybe we'll bring that alleyway up to here. What do you think? And again, we're going to do that by creating this type of shape, okay? But I'm not going to actually use guides to do it. I'm going to draw buildings to create the guides. And here's a way to draw buildings without actually any buildings there. I add backyards, and that will enable me, let's just cinch this back a little bit to do something like this. And again, because I'm getting that little box shape in there, let's just make that a little bit more visually detailed. Okay, now, I was kind of hoping something like this would happen. I have this really funny shape going on here. You see that? It's like a road that is narrowing on itself. You know, that's okay. You know, you could walk away from that and be okay with it. People aren't going to see it. But there's several ways to soften this up, and it doesn't involve redrawing. One, throw a couple of trees or shrubs or something in there, and you don't see the narrowing of the road so clearly. The other way to, and I like doing the tree route, by the way. The tree route's a pretty good way of doing it. Another way to do this is, well, add some more little backyards. Just like this. It's almost like you're squaring off the building by giving it a fence. And if we keep with that theme, something like that would do the trick. Now we're almost done with this here, but I'm going to fill in this section and this little section right here. Again, little bit of variety. Get another building in here. Maybe an outshed. Long building right there. Maybe we'll put a little dot between them. And I'm going to square that off with the road by giving it an actual wall or a fence. There. Look at that. Beautiful. Now, I have more of a major road coming through right here. I don't have a way for it to come out, but it looks like this seems to be a natural sort of exit point, and maybe snaking right through there as well. So let's rotate the canvas. And we are going to do something like this. You know what? We haven't done this shape in a short while, so let's do that. I'm going to make this a thin building, but I'm going to give it a little bit on the back there. Now, I don't want another gap right here, because I really want the eye to walk through in this direction, okay? Or out in this sort of direction. So I'm actually going to join these areas together. There we go. And now I'm going to bend the road here. Let's join them. Let's do something like that. And let's fill this area right here. Let's do this. And fill in. Now what I've done here, by the way, let's zoom in on this little one just for a moment. I basically created a square shape. But I did it by drawing this shape first. I notched it out. And I made the other side a little bit smaller. And I brought down basically a little small square there. And this whole bit, I just created another building. That's what's going on here. So the eye starts to see like a little neighborhood, a block of buildings. But we have this lovely little alleyway going in between them. And I'll create a little walkway, or maybe it's a wall or something. We have another one of those weird sort of road situations going here. Don't panic, nothing to redraw. Just, let's do a little bit of a fence situation there. And you know what, maybe here, is it a statue? Is it a pool of water, maybe a little fountain? We can color that in later and that will denote exactly what it is. And we will do that. By the way, in partway through drawing that, I'm stopping myself purposely each time. I was tempted to do this, but look how it, I mean, it's okay. Look, you can have like this shapes together. Nothing wrong with that. But unless I'm shooting for a particular look and feel, I like to try and sort of vary them up just a touch. Also, notches in your buildings can help break up a funny angle on one side. Let me give you an example of that. If I did this, you see the strange shape. You see, you start to see, well, it's not quite a square. There's something funny going on here. What's with that? But if you take this side and did that, the brain sees it less. Maybe put a little bit of a detail on the other side here, and you're seeing just the road at this point. It's a wonderful way to handle weird angles coming together. And I think we will join them up there, and we'll do something like this here. There we go. Now, what do we do with that little space right there? Well, I think we could leave it open. It's okay to have like buildings butted up against each other, and you want that to a degree. You want that. It should feel like we have little clusters of neighborhoods with alleyways going in between them, but you don't have to literally fill every square inch with buildings, unless that, of course, is the shit nature of your city. But another way to handle something like that is, well, maybe we'll put a little tree here. And it becomes a little courtyard instead. Now imagine doing that all over the city. And by the way, we will be. What did that take me? About 10, 15 minutes? 15 minutes. And I have that neighborhood done. We could easily, therefore, get something like that area done in an hour, and probably the entire city, I don't know, a few hours. A few hours of good motoring along, drawing. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. So next time when we come back to the city, I think we're going to explore some graveyards and how you draw those. And in a future episode, we're going to take a much deeper dive into drawing elevated areas in your cities too. So if you want to see those, please consider hitting me up with a subscribe below. Maybe knock on that bell just that little bit. And if you like what we're doing here, please consider taking a look at my Patreon. Link down below. Thank you so much for watching. Absolute love to you. And I will see you all on the flip side.